Hello everyone, Mike with Spray Jones coming to you with another video. We're going to be stepping into summer here. People are going to be off, they're going to be on vacation, they're going to be building things, they're going to be ordering things. The summer is going to slip by, so I figured I'd get a video out here before the long weekend hits for everybody. And then we'll see what we do for content throughout the summer months. Can you save, or can I save, if you're the recipient of spray foam, can I save money if I do the prep? We get asked this quite often, especially with the rising spray foam prices on materials, and all input costs are up. It's not a huge request, but it does come up from time to time. The short answer inside of 1 minute is really no. And I'll explain a couple of things why. If you're the spray foam guy, or you're going to be the end recipient, listen to what I have to say, because you can learn from this just by watching the video and either avoid having a problem if you're the guy agreeing to this on one side of the fence. Usually what people want to save on is a lot of the prep and a little bit of the final checkout, cleanup, and this kind of stuff. And this sets up for all sorts of issues, and I can draw on experience as to why. Let's start with scaffolding. Let's say somebody says, well, you know, we bring scaffolding. If we bring 3 tiers, 15 feet, platforms, X-braces, all of that, it takes time to set that up, time to load it into the trailer, mob it over to the site, disassemble it, carry it all in, set it all up. It's a 2-man crew that has to set it up. You need help with somebody, get it all set up, get it into position. So if you have to mob and demob it, move it around the house, that is costly time that you're not spraying foam. In today's day and age, with labor being what it is and missed opportunities and what have you, I don't set scaffolding up for free anymore. I don't just view it as part of needing to do the job. You can decide what you want to get out of it, but my time is worth a whole lot more to me than just $100. So consider that. When I've had clients say, well, don't worry, I've got scaffolding, sometimes that's okay, right? There has been credible people, usually renovation companies and general contractors, that are already using the scaffolding to frame, to do drywall, to do whatever, and it's legitimate scaffolding. But I cringe when the customer tells me, oh, I'll get some scaffolding, because I've had that happen before. It's insufficiently tall enough. It's missing the platforms, or a platform, or X-braces. I had one site where half the X-braces weren't, the scaffolding was just a wobble fest. It was totally unsafe. I've had others that aren't tall enough, aren't set up right, don't have pins, have cracked welds, you name it. So I really question the builder a lot on the scaffolding, or the homeowner a lot on the scaffolding. I said it's got to be correct, it's got to be safe, it's got to be tall enough. Oh yeah. Well, we've got to make sure. And that goes for providing lifts too, as a side note. If you're going to be providing a lift, I had a guy one time that wanted us to get into a bucket lift that he had made on a front end loader, and I just said no way. Moving along, polying of windows and doors. If this is done correctly, it can save you some time. What I find with most homeowners is that they don't know what you want, they don't know how to do it, they don't know the intrinsic problems with the spray foam. So the spray foam is atomized. There's wind pressure when the spray is being applied, so you can't just staple a few staples around the edge of the window. You can still have overspray get on vinyl or wood frames. So what we do is we overlap the window, we staple, and then we tape the edges down so that you're not getting anything behind the poly. So you also don't want to do a bazillion staples. It's just extra work to pull those out or get them out of the way when you go to do caulking and you go to do seam sealing and these kinds of things. Most people don't want to have half a box of staples around one window anyhow when they're going to do the next trade. So a lot of times the homeowners or the builders, they'll make bless their heart, they'll make a half-hearted, or what they think is a wholehearted attempt on polying windows and doors, and at best we're having to go around and fix these things up. And if we just leave it and spray, or if you are the sprayer and you just leave it and it's not right, then you'll be blamed, and they'll want you to clean it up even though they did all the prep. So you're better off as the spray guy, you go and prep the windows, you go and take care of the doors, Do it how you know it needs to be done, so there's no problems with it. And if there is a problem with it, it's clearly on your side of the fence. You don't get into this he said, she said blame game. Same thing go with floors. We have found that, we've had a lot of people complain in the past, if you're doing a ceiling or something like that and the spray foam drips, it's okay to get a little bit of overspray on the floor, a little bit. But when you get large amounts, especially with some of these newer foams, the catalysts and the bonding agents that they're putting in, the spray foam really grabs onto the wood floors very well, and it's a lot of effort to scrape them up. And if you don't scrape them up, then you're generally getting yelled at by the next trade. So what we'll do is we'll throw plastic down on the floor, staple it down so it's not whipping up. A lot of times a client won't do that, or if they do it either the morning of and they're holding you up, or they're doing it so far in advance that it's going to get wrecked. And that's another side note is, okay, the client says to you, I'm going to do all this prep. All right, when are they going to do it? Do they do it the day that you arrive or the morning of? Are they only barely keeping up? I've seen that where we're not quite ready yet. We got a little bit on the main floor yet to do, and sort of they're holding you up. Or they've done it so many days or weeks in advance that sometimes the tape is letting go, poly's coming down, or worse yet, another trade has come in and ripped a bunch of the plastic down, and they were totally unaware. Like, oh yeah, I went and prepped it, and then they didn't look at the room again, and the electricians or the plumbers have gone in and ripped a whole bunch of the poly down to go inspect something. People do not regard poly work, masking work, they just view it as an impediment in their way. Other trades just come in and they trash it all the time. They do not view it as this essential part of containing overspray and mitigating risk. Stud face, putting packaging tape. A lot of people say, hey Mike, what's that shiny stuff on the studs? And I just find it hilarious that nobody could actually think for themselves what possibly could they be putting on the studs that would look shiny and looks tape-like. But we use cheap, inexpensive packaging, 2-inch wide packaging tape on the stud face. I'll always do this. I think it's the best system versus scraping. We really like it because it leaves a perfectly clear and clean stud face. But we've had clients go around and tape it, and they don't do it. They don't do it all the way. They on a 9-foot wall, they don't reach up to the top. You know, they'll go and they do what they can reach, and they're like, oh, I'm going to come back and do that later. They never do. There's also ways of cross hatching, like when you get to side blocking for cabinets and there's counter walls. There's different ways and methods that we've come up with taping that speeds it up so that when you pull one piece of tape, it hooks onto a few others and pulls the others with it. But I had a person one time, they're like, oh yeah, I'll tape all the stud faces for you, don't worry, we'll do all the prep. And they went out and bought the most expensive, they used tuck tape. They used high grade, highly sticky adhesive tuck tape that's meant for tuck taping styrofoam panels together. This stuff did not want to come off the studs, not. So they created a huge amount of work for us. It didn't save us one bit of time. They went around and polyed all of this, the studs, and then we still had to go around and scrape everything because the tape didn't even want to pull off, so the foam was stuck to the tape, but how do you get it off? Same thing with shaving a foam. Now this is where I will kind of let a client off the hook a tiny little bit, mostly with cube vans and trailers and RVs and all this other kind of sideline stuff where shaving the foam, where you've got a sea container and they want the foam brought right out to the studs, and they'll say, don't worry, we'll shave it. Okay, fine, I'll leave that be, I'll let you shave it. But in a house, in a wood frame construction or a commercial building where we've got to do caulking, we got to do checkouts, we got to check our work, it's not practical to bring the client in and have them expect to put some laborers on shaving the foam. They're either going to work very slow or inefficiently. How do you know they're going to get everything shaved and true? I've seen this before. Guys don't run a board down the wall when it's tight. They don't check corners, so you're going to have to go back and reshave it anyhow. So it's better to put your people with your knowledge on shaving down the foam. Then you can check your work over into the corners, make sure the foam is complete, make sure there's not some little shadowy hollow area in a corner or behind an electrical box. And then of course this segues into final checkouts, which is checking the work over and doing caulking. I will never ever let a client do the caulking, ever. The many times they've offered and I've just said absolutely not, and that's due to liability, because if they don't do it, or they do it wrong, or they do it with the cheapest possible product, it's directly going to bring air and air leakage into double frame, wood frame construction, where the seams are bottom plate, top plate, round headers, around windows. they're going to chintz out, they're not going to do it right, and as a result, they're going to put the board up, the paneling up, then there's going to be air leakage, and then what is it? Is it the spray foam or is it the caulking? And then they're not going to want to remember that they did all of that. So, and I actually know of a job where the spray foam guy said, we're not responsible for the caulking, you got to do the caulking. The caulking was an orphan, nobody ended up doing it. The board got put up. In this case, it was tongue and groove pine in a cabin, and massive air leakage problems. And when they did a thermal imaging scan on the structure, immediately you could see what the problem was. And now you've got 15,000 lineal feet of tongue and groove pine that's coming down, and the building has to be caulked on the inside. And that was just a huge error, both on the builder's part, but the spray foam guy never should have said that. He didn't. He should have taken the responsibility to check his work over, make sure it was 100%. And now you're into a blame game. So you're getting spray foam this summer. You're going to do jobs this summer. Maybe some of these points will help you on what to agree to, what not to agree to. And honestly, usually when people say they're going to do the prep for us, I've had more than not, they'll get halfway through it and quit and phone me up and say, look, I just don't have time, or I didn't realize how much work this was going to be. Can you finish the prep? Bill me anyhow, whatever you were going to bill me, and can you guys just do it? At which point I go, yeah, okay. So it's really a non-starter. If you're a spray guy, maybe don't let these guys get into it. Here's some good points to make. And if you're the one receiving the spray foam, understand that you're probably really not going to help people out a whole lot. Even if you have the best of intentions, you might not be doing what they need or how they need it, and it isn't going to save anybody any time and effort. So just let your spray guy come in, do what he's got to do proper, start to finish, pay the bill, and have a good job, and you won't remember it in a year's time when you're living in the structure, using the structure, and everything's working well. Okay? So catch you on the next couple of videos. We've got some projects coming up, real big ones, real interesting ones this summer. We're going to get some video on those, do some real good videos, and maybe even on one of the largest shops we've ever done. So stick around, lay a comment. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.